Live from Pawtucket, it's a mad show. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Stephen Buckner, and we're here tonight to do what we always do, talk about movies. So we're going to talk about a couple of the movies that are currently out in the theaters. We'll talk about what's coming out this month, and also maybe a little preview of some of the summer movies, because May is really the start of summer movie season. And I want to start the show by saying, May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day. We're recording this on actual Star Wars Day. You may not be watching it that day, but happy Star Wars Day to all out there. And in the spirit of that, you may notice that our regular host, PJ Pat Tierney, is not here. He actually has been upgraded. With AI. We have our new little co-host here, Pat2D2. So he'll be joining us tonight. I don't know if he's watched any movies, maybe some AI created movies that he's seen, but we won't get into that. Anything to say, Pat2? No? Okay. All right. So the first movie that we're going to talk about is one called Over Your Dead Body. And that's kind of a bland title, which, I mean, I guess it's appropriate for the movie, but it doesn't really tell you too much about it. But it's a kind of a dark comedy slash thriller that stars Jason Segel and Samara Weaving. Jason Segel, he's known for currently stars on the TV show Shrinking. He was also on the show How I Met Your Mother. He's probably well known for a lot of the Judd Apatow movies that he was in. But he's not a superstar, but I think he's recognizable. Samara Weaving, a little bit lesser known. She's been in a lot of good things, but she's not a major star quite yet. Most recently, she was in Ready or Not 2. Which she was the star of both that and the sequel that just came out like a month or two ago. So she's kind of having a good year where she had that movie, this one, and then I think about a month or two from now, she's got a third movie coming out called Carolina Carolyn, or Carolyn Carolina, something like that, which looks to be like a Bonnie and Clyde type movie. But anyway, the premise of this movie is that Jason Segel and Samara Weaving play a married couple that go on a retreat, vacation, up to a cabin, or a lake house, rather. And Jason Segel's character is actually planning to kill his wife, which she discovers before he can do it. And she decides to try to kill him herself. So they both sort of discover that the other's trying to kill them, and it becomes kind of a stalemate, and it becomes sort of a war between them early on in the movie. And things then take a turn and get more complicated when a group of escaped convicts shows up on their property. So it's a very dark comedy, and it can be at times kind of brutal and a little bit gory, but it does have some definite thrilling moments. Playing some of the convicts is Timothy Oliphant, who's well known from the show Justified. And then the prison guard with him that had broken him out and he's in a relationship with is played by Juliette Lewis. So it's a pretty good movie. It's directed by Jorma Taccone, who, if you don't know who he is, he was a writer on Saturday Night Live, and he was part of the Lonely Island group that, along with Andy Samberg and one other person, they created a bunch of music videos that was on Saturday Night Live. And he's also an actor. He's appeared in small parts and things. You might recognize him if you saw him. But I think this is, I don't know if it's his directing debut, but it's probably the biggest thing he's directed to date. And so he brings sort of that comic sensibility to what's otherwise kind of a very dark story. So even though it's got elements of a kind of a twisted psychological thriller maybe, it's also at times, flat out funny. So I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't think it's, I don't know how it's doing. I meant to check to see how it's actually doing in the theater. It hasn't got a lot of press. It was only playing locally in one theater. I'm not even sure if it's still playing there. It was playing in Warwick. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. There's a lot of smaller movies coming out that aren't getting the press that the bigger tentpole movies get. And they just sort of come out for like 1 week and then they're gone the next week, which is kind of sad, because movies really need to have legs. They need to stay out in the theaters and gain an audience and build momentum, and that's not really happening so much anymore. They're just sort of, the mentality is, get it out there, see if we can make money, and then just put it on streaming. So I'm sure this will probably show up on streaming pretty quickly. I don't know which streaming platform it'll be on, but I would look, first I would check to see if it's still playing in theaters, because it's definitely worth going to see. But barring that, look for it on streaming. So the second movie I went to go see, which just came out this past weekend, was one called Deep Water. And that's a disaster movie. Stars, I forgot the name of the actor. Stars the guy that played Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. And also Ben Kingsley. They're the two biggest stars in the movie. But it's kind of an ensemble movie. And it's kind of like the old disaster movies, like something like the Poseidon Adventure, where it's a group that all sorts of comes together to survive this disaster. The premise of this movie is that Aaron Eckhart is the name of the star of the movie. He plays first mate to Ben Kingsley's captain on this airliner that's going on a transcontinental flight between Los Angeles and Saigon, and the plane has a technical issue, or actually there's a fire that breaks out on the plane, which one things I didn't like about the movie is that they were so heavy-handed in foreshadowing the fire breaking out on the plane early in the movie. Like they didn't need to take as many foreboding shots of the cargo area where the fire is going to break out. But that was one debit to the movie. But basically what happens, a fire breaks out, causes a disaster on the plane, and the plane ends up crashing. And they crash in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So then, they figure, okay, they need to wait for rescue. But then what happens is the place that they've crashed is infested with sharks. So the sharks start coming for the survivors and picking them off one by one. So not only are they trying to survive, this plane crash, they're trying to survive not getting eaten by sharks. So it's a pretty thrilling movie. It does a good job. It keeps you on your seat, on the edge of your seat. It's pretty exciting. I found myself very involved in it. I, felt myself, feeling for a lot of the characters. And they do a good job of making you care about these characters, because a lot of these type of movies, there's a lot of characters that are there that are just fodder to be killed. And like something like the last Scream movie, some of those characters in that movie were just poorly sketched out. They were literally just there so that they could be killed. And this movie really kind of keeps you guessing, aside from one character that has to be killed, because that's just the type of movie it is. But it keeps you guessing as to who's going to survive, who's not going to. and you really do feel for a lot of the characters. So I enjoyed it. As far as B movies go, it's pretty good. Disaster movies are never really mainstream A class, with major Hollywood stars. But this, Aaron Eckhart is a decent star. Ben Kingsley, I would probably say is an A-list star. But it's a solid B movie. It does what it's supposed to do, and it does it well. It's directed by Rennie Harlin, who I don't know that I've seen any movies from him in a while, but like in the 90s, he was a huge action movie director. He directed the second Die Hard movie, and he directed a bunch of other action movies. And I wanted to check before the show, and I forgot to do it. I think he directed another shark movie, which I really enjoyed, Deep Blue Sea. I could be wrong about that, but I think he did direct that. He directed some movies with Geena Davis when she was sort of on an action kick a long time ago, and Samuel Jackson. So he's a fairly decent action director, and he does a good job with this. Like I said, the only thing I found a little cheesy was those foreboding shots of the impending fire early on in the movie. But it sort of hits all the notes that it should. It keeps you engaged in the movie. So it's another one I would recommend. I'm surprised that it's coming out in May, which is like I said at the beginning of the show, that's the start of the big summer movie season. And it's not what I would call a tentpole movie, but it was going up against this weekend against The Devil Wears Prada 2, which was a big tentpole movie. That was the first big release of the summer season. So I think this was released against that sort of as counter programming, because I don't think the people that are going out to see this movie are the same ones that would be tempted to go see The Devil Wears Prada 2. I did not see The Devil Wears Prada 2, so we won't be talking about it tonight. I don't know if I'll be seeing it by the next show. Not that I don't want to see it. I did see the original. I don't know if I saw it in the theater or I just ended up seeing it on TV eventually. So I am tempted to see this one, but this movie, Deep Water, just kind of appealed to me a little bit more. And again, it's a movie that's not going to have the legs that The Devil Wears Prada has. So it's probably not going to be in the theater as long, unless it becomes like sort of a unexpected hit, and then maybe it will. But there's going to be bigger movies coming out this month and this season. So a smaller movie like this, I don't really see staying out in the theater too long. So I would recommend going out seeing it while it's out there, because it is worth seeing if you're looking for, an exciting popcorn movie, which is what this is. So coming out this month, there's a few coming up. The big one, obvious one, this being Star Wars Day, I can't not mention that the new Star Wars movie, The Mandalorian and Grogu, comes out at the end of the month on, I think it's Memorial Day weekend. It comes out on the 22nd. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll no doubt talk about that on a future show. I don't think it'll be our next show, because that's still before it comes out. So the show after. But we will be talking about The Mandalorian and Grogu. So I'm looking forward to that. But aside from that, this coming weekend, Mortal Kombat 2 is coming out. I never actually did see Mortal Kombat 1. I kind of have a little bit of a rule where I don't go see movies based on video games, because most of the time they really suck. I have made exceptions in the last couple of years, because some of them have been better quality, but I didn't see the first Mortal Kombat. But when I saw some of the initial commercials for this Mortal Kombat 2, it does have Carl Urban playing Johnny Cage. And some of the things that I've seen with him as Johnny Cage look really funny. Like, not something I would expect to be in a Mortal Kombat movie. Johnny Cage is like a movie's, they're portraying him as like a movie star, and they show clips of some of the various movies Johnny Cage has been in. And I thought it was pretty funny, but I don't know if it's enough to get me to go see Mortal Kombat. I can't even remember if I ever actually played the game back when that originally came out. I remember the character Johnny Cage. But also coming up the same weekend is the Sheep Detective, which is an odd-looking movie, but I'm a little curious to see it. It might be a good one to like take kids to, even though it's about a murder. It's about a flock of sheep who are owned by I was about to say Hugh Jackman plays their shepherd, who has a habit of reading murder mysteries to them. And then, of course, one night he ends up getting murdered himself, and the sheep take it upon themselves to solve the mystery of his murder. So it's kind of a Babe type of thing where you've got the animals are talking. The people can't understand them, but the animals are talking, and obviously there's like celebrities that are voicing them. And the only other, I don't know who's voicing them, I haven't looked into that, but I do know that it also stars Emma Thompson in a live action role. So it looks like it might be interesting. I do like murder mysteries, and this looks kind of like a weird spin on a murder mystery. But I did take my niece and nephew to see a movie a while back, and they showed the trailer for that, and they generally seemed interested in seeing that movie. So it might be something that could be a good sort of entry-level murder mystery thing for kids. So we'll see about that. Then another movie coming out this weekend, which I have zero interest in seeing, is a Billie Eilish concert movie, which surprisingly is directed by James Cameron. James Cameron has made some strange choices, and I don't dislike Billie Eilish. I just don't know a lot of her music. I know a few songs, but I'm not really the audience for that. And I'm surprised James Cameron is involved in it, because if it doesn't seem to involve Avatar or the Titanic, he's just not interested in making other movies that aren't about those things. So that comes out this week. Coming out the following week, there's a movie called Obsession, which is a horror movie, which looks really sort of creepy. The initial teaser trailers that I had seen for it, I didn't really understand what it was about. And then they've just released recently like a more longer trailer where you get more sense of the story. And it's about a character who makes a wish for a girl to be in love with them. And of course, it's one of those be careful what you wish for things where she becomes completely obsessed with him to a dangerous degree. So it looks interesting. It depends on what else is still in the theaters around the time that comes out. I don't know for me if that's going to be one that's going to be a high priority to go see, but it looks like it might be interesting. But coming out the same weekend, one I'm more interested in seeing is called In the Gray, which stars Henry Cavill, Elza Gonzalez, and Jake Gyllenhaal. So this is directed by Guy Ritchie, who, a British director who's done a lot of slick crime movies. And he did a movie last year with Henry Cavill and Elza Gonzalez, which was actually a World War II movie, which is unusual for him. But it was an unusual movie, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was a violent kind of action movie for a World War II movie, but it was, I don't know how to describe it. It was just sort of a gonzo. It was almost along the lines of The Dirty Dozen. So this feels like it's giving kind of the same vibes as that movie. So I think it might be pretty good. If you're familiar with Guy Ritchie, like I said, he did the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr. He did, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch. He's known for doing a lot of like very slick action crime movies, and so this looks like it'll be good. I'll probably go see it. And like I said, also coming out this month, Mandalorian Grogu, and then I Love Boosters, which does look interesting. It's about shoplifters who then go out and they steal high-end stuff from boutiques and then sell it, and sort of somehow attract media attention doing this. It stars Keke Palmer, who she was in the movie Nope. She's usually pretty good in whatever she does. So it doesn't seem like the type of movie I normally would go see, but something about it looks like it's pretty good. It's got a good cast. So that might be something that might be worth going to see. And then also coming out this summer, those are just movies coming out this month. But then there's a bunch of movies, some of the tentpole movies coming out over the summer. You got your obvious ones. If you want a superhero movie, there's Supergirl, which is the newest DC movie in the same universe as the Superman movie that came out last year. And Superman, I think, is probably going to make a cameo in this. Crypto, that was in the last Superman movie, I think actually plays sort of not like a critical role, but I think he's, again, involved in this and sort of motivating the story. And one reason I'm excited to see this is that it's the first live action appearance of a character, Lobo, that I know from the comics. And he's played by Jason Momoa, who it's the most perfect casting in the world. If you've ever read any DC comics featuring Lobo, and then you see Jason Momoa as Lobo, you're like, I can't imagine anyone but him playing that character. He looks absolutely perfect in the role. So I'm really looking forward to Supergirl just for that alone, to see Jason Momoa as Lobo. And I don't know if there'll be other cameos from other DC characters in that. There were a ton in the Superman movie. You had the Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, and then I think there were others too. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, but anyway, as far as superhero movies go, you also get the next Spider-Man movie, which is Spider-Man Brand New Day, which they're taking their title from I didn't read it myself, but I'm familiar with the storyline of a Spider-Man storyline they did in the comics years ago, where similar to what's happening in the Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man, his reality is sort of reset, and he was married in the comics for a very long time to Mary Jane. And then they did the Brand New Day storyline where all of a sudden they just reset his world and he was no longer married to Mary Jane. So they're doing something similar in the movies where, if you remember Spider-Man No Way Home, the way that ended was with Peter Parker having Doctor Strange perform a spell where no one remembers who Peter Parker is. So Spider-Man is still a thing. Everyone knows that Spider-Man exists, but no one knows Peter Parker. So he's sort of, at the end of the movie, he's leading sort of a lonely existence, but he's still being Spider-Man, and he's sort of made it his mission he's going to reintroduce himself into the lives of his friends, Ned and MJ. And I think that's a lot of the storyline of this movie. I don't know if they really said who the villain is. I know Scorpion, who they teased way back in the first Ted Holland Spider-Man movie. He's actually going to appear in this, but I don't think he's the main villain. So I'm not really sure who the main villain of this is. I know the Punisher is also going to appear in it. And before that movie comes out, I think that doesn't come out till July, there actually is going to be a Punisher one-shot special that's going to be on Disney Plus, where it sort of explains where Punisher is and what he's doing before the events of Spider-Man and after the events of Daredevil Born Again, which he was in the first season and was not in the second season. He was mentioned, but they didn't really show him, and and tell you what he was up to. So you're going to get to see that in that special on Disney Plus, which may be coming out this month or next month, because it's definitely before the Spider-Man movie comes out. So aside from superhero movies, one movie I'm looking forward to very much is one that almost did not get released, Coyote versus Acme. It's a combination animation live action movie where Wile E. Coyote is suing the Acme Corporation after years of their products blowing up in his face and backfiring and causing him all sorts of bodily harm. He hires Will Forte to help him sue Acme, and John Cena plays the lawyer for the Acme Corporation. So this is a movie that when Warner Brothers merged with Discovery, they decided that even though it was completed, they weren't going to release it. And it caused a lot of furor, and eventually it got sold to Ketchup Entertainment, which is releasing it. And Ketchup Entertainment actually did the same thing last year with the Looney Tunes animated movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, which was very funny. If you have not seen it, I would search it out. I think it's probably available on DVD, and it must be streaming probably on HBO Max, but it might be elsewhere. But they rescued that movie, released it. I think it was a success for them. It didn't get a lot of advertisement, but it did get its theatrical release. And now they've rescued this movie, so this will see the light of day. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping it does very well, because I want to see them make movies like this. I mean, granted, not all of the live action movies with the Looney Tunes have been that great. I'm not a fan of the Space Jam movies. Looney Tunes Back in Action was a little better. But I have high hopes for this. The trailers for it look pretty funny. And Will Forte is usually funny. John Cena, I'm not a wrestling fan, but he has made good choices with a lot of stuff that he's made. Peacemaker was great. So we're pretty much coming up to the end of the show. One last big movie that's coming out, which you're not going to be able to escape, is The Odyssey. And I think me and Pat might have talked about it a little bit on the last show. So on our next show, we'll probably talk about more of the movies coming out over the summer, maybe some of the lesser known ones that might be worth going out to see, like the 2 movies we talked about at the beginning of the show. So thanks everyone for watching. May the 4th be with you. Have a good night.